morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at a new stadium card, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, right? This new stadium card could be absolutely huge. No guarantee that it will be, let's be clear. But certainly this is one of those stadiums that could make a huge difference, and I think could lead to some rather ridiculous decks. Now it is Sir Chester Bath. That is apparently what it's called. Our translation, of course, comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet. And what we've got here is a stadium card that reduces damage done to basic Pokemon by 20 from their opponent's Pokemon's attacks. I.e., everybody's basic Pokemon take 20 less from their opponent's Pokemon. Now, it is really important to note it will only stop your opponent's Pokemon's damage, not your own. So any self-damage doesn't get stopped here. Any damage to your own benched Pokemon doesn't get stopped here. It is purely damage to your basics from your opponent's Pokemon. And this is redonk. And part of the issue here, I say issue, it's great if you're into this kind of thing, if you want to play it, is that being a stadium means all those other tricks we've got to reduce damage, and there are a bunch, are all totally on the table as well. Now initially this actually reminds me very much of the old Snowpoint Temple card. Now Snowpoint Temple increase the HP of basic Pokemon by 20. But this doesn't increase the HP by 20. It reduces damage done by 20, and the vast majority of the time that's better. Now, if we're talking, say, poison or burn or things of that nature, then the extra 20 HP is better because that doesn't get stopped. But against damage, this is awesome because it can apply multiple times. If you don't get one hit KO'd, if your opponent is forced into 2 hit KOing you, then you don't really get an extra 20 HP. You get an extra 40 HP. And that makes a big difference. Now, if you want some of the nicer uses for this is actually really good for evolving Pokemon. Something like Snom that comes in with a frankly embarrassing 50 HP actually goes up to a far more respectable 70 HP. So that's kind of nice. Sobble, that would be coming in with 70 HP, gets bumped up to 90 HP, which for an evolving basic is actually really cool. Although you are going to be in this weird situation where you evolve into a stage 1 and you either get no extra HP or just a negligible amount. And so that's all rather lovely. And then, of course, we've got our support Pokemon. Something like Jirachi goes up to 90 HP here. And that can make a huge difference. That can be the difference between getting KO'd and not getting KO'd. And I know that since the rotation of a skateboard, Jirachi has not been as good, but I also know that with cards like Scoop Up Net, people are still playing Jirachi and it's still proving to be pretty good, so let's not get too upset too quickly here. So it's really good for these support Pokemon, and I'm not saying that Jirachi going from 70 to 90 is going to make it invincible, but I am saying it is going to make a difference, and there are going to be some Pokemon that go from, ooh, look at me, I'm getting a KO, to, oh no, I'm no longer getting a KO. And one of the things we're getting in the near future is all of these amazing rare Pokemon, like the next Jirachi, like Raikou. And these are really good Pokemon that have seen a bunch of play, could be teched into a bunch of decks. And you know, Raikou's going from 110 up to 130, which crucially goes through the 120 number. There are a lot of Pokemon out there that do a natural 120, and this goes from being KO'd to not being KO'd. Jirachi Amazing Rare admittedly goes again from 70 to 90, but still that can make a difference. Here's the problem. This helps tag team Pokemon. Pikachu and Zekrom, Arceus and Alga and Palkia, Mewtwo and Mew, Reshiram and Charizard. These are all getting damage reduction. Why are they getting damage reduction? People in the community are out there calling for Arceus and Alga and Palkia, ADP as it's more commonly known, to go ahead and be banned, and yet Pokemon are doubling down and going, okay, look, instead of banning it, how about we give it a stadium to give it more survivability? And while we're here, let's not forget, there is a League Battle deck coming that is going to have ADP in it as well. Although, let's be clear, this was all planned long before people were moaning about ADP. Except for me, I made that video 5 months ago. Go and check. I've been on the ADP as bad train for ages. But now it's getting an extra 20 HP. Essentially, could end up being more. If you're looking at 2 or 3 hit KO Arceus and Alga and Palkia, ha! Things just got more difficult. Even if you're not, ADP's now got an effective HP of 300, which is even sillier than it was before. I mean, I made some notes today before I recorded this video, as I tend to do, and the note I've got written down here is, did ADP really need any more help? And probably not. I think it's probably fair to say. So it does help all of those tag team Pokemon, and that is arguably going to be a negative in the long run. Now, it does help Pokemon V, but it doesn't help Pokemon V Max, because remember, Pokemon V Max are not basics. And the obvious candidate here is Zacian. Zacian is already one of the best, if not the best Pokemon in the game, because of the ability to let you draw free, and if any of them are Metal Energy, you can attach them, and the attack that does 230 for free energy. But when you start adding in a stadium like this, it's starting to get a little bit silly. Because let's not forget that some of the best versions of Zacian at the moment already play Metal Goggles, which reduces damage done to you by 30. And the one that took both first and second place at the Players' Cup came along and played Lucario and Melmetal as well, and that's becoming a fairly popular version of the deck. And that reduces damage done to you by 30. So the point here is that you could potentially, between this stadium, Metal Goggles, and Lucario and Melmetal, Zacian is taking 80 less damage from attacks. That's ridiculous. And let's not forget, we've also got Zamazenta. Now, Zamazenta is immune to VMAXs, so let's take Eternatus as an example. Eternatus VMAX is a VMAX, shockingly. So Zamazenta is immune. So what the Eternatus player is going to want to do is try attacking with Eternatus. But then you're coming out with this, and you're taking 80 less damage from attacks, so Eternatus is doing 40 damage. Which might as well be 0, really, because Eternatus is being 2-hit KO'd while getting an 8-hit KO. An 8-hit KO. And clearly Metal Pokemon, any basic Metal Pokemon now, can use this combination to be taking 80 less damage from attacks. If you really want to go silly, and I blatantly do, I got all excited about Copperaja before. Well, how about we go and use Copperaja V? And Copperaja V's got an attack that means it takes 30 less damage from attacks. So now it's taking 110 less damage from attacks. 110 less damage! So you've got to do 330 to get a 1-hit KO. Then, of course, if you start adding in a bunch of healing, Mallow and Lana and things of that nature, you could be leading to a Pokemon that's just redonkulous to KO. Oh, we want some more redonkulous combos? Phalanx. How about Phalanx? You see, Phalanx V has got that ability that says that all Pokemon with Phalanx in their name take 20 less damage from your opponent's attacks. And yes, it does stack. So with 4 Phalanx out, you're taking 80 less damage from attacks. Added to this new stadium means you're taking 100 less damage from attacks. But let's not forget that by the time this comes around, we're going to have Stone Fighting Energy. And Stone Fighting Energy says that you take 20 less damage from attacks, and it stacks. So if you've got 4 Phalanx in play, 4 Stone Fighting Energy on a Phalanx, and this stadium in play, you're taking 180 less damage from attacks. Your opponent's got to do 190 damage just to actually do 10 damage. Now, admittedly, it's going to be hard to get all this rolling, but it remains possible. And don't forget, we got that new B supporter card coming. Lets you discard the top 5 cards of your deck and attach any energy you find to your bench fighting Pokemon. That does include your special energy, so this would be one way to potentially get all of the Stone Fighting Energy onto one of your Pokemon. And you only need to get one Pokemon set up like this to basically sit there and be like, yep, your move. Now, this is one of those ones, however, one of the stadiums that works on your opponent's turn. So you can't guarantee it's going to work. Your opponent attacks, that's when the damage gets reduced, so your opponent can get rid of the stadium and then attack, and they will be able to make it work. And obviously here, I'm thinking, Tool Scrapper's the obvious one. If your opponent plays a Tool Scrapper and then attacks, then you won't get the damage reduction. Or, of course, they can play their own stadium, or they can just play Chaotic Swell, and then when you try and play this stadium, it will get discarded before it actually does anything. But make no mistake about it, this is a very good stadium, and clearly it's going to encourage basic decks like your Zacian decks, your other ADP decks, your Mewtwo and Mew decks, etc. And clearly it's going to be hurting those VMAX decks like Centiskorch, Inteleon, Eternatus, which have been getting better and better as we go. But make no mistake about it, either way round you look at it, this is a game-changing card. I'm giving it 5 Wassies. Giving some of the best Pokemon in the game a way to reduce damage done so they can avoid key KOs and win even more matchups. Opening up some of these fairly ridiculous combos with other cards, because every other card I mentioned that reduces damage is not a stadium. Which means you can combo all of this together, and what we've got here is just a card, and if I describe it as ridiculous, I'm not saying it alone reduces damage by 100 or anything stupid like that. I am saying that it gives an extra boost to the best Pokemon in the game, while also leading to some fairly ridiculous combos, and I think that justifies my opinion of the card being quite so gosh darn high. But I would be very interested to hear your opinion of the card. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.